I want to introduce you to a couple of other secondary ways to access color while you're working. And once again, these can be tied to the Wacom tablet control surface, which just helps to maintain focus and keep yourself on task rather than spending time searching through the interface to find things. The first one I want to talk about is Adobe's own color picker. And you're used to that. You see it when you double click on the current color, for example. A lot of people really like this color picker, but it's never had a keyboard shortcut to be able to bring it up other than through some mechanism within the interface. And they now have that. So I want to go to the keyboard shortcuts. I'll go to the Edit menu in Mac and under the Photoshop menu in Windows. And if we go to keyboard shortcuts and visit the Tools section, we'll go down to the bottom here. And we now have the ability to assign a keyboard shortcut to the foreground and background color picker. I tend to just use the foreground because that's the one that normally is going to be assigning color to a brush. And one keyboard shortcut that I found that doesn't seem to be in use in Photoshop is the comma. So I'm assigning a comma to that. I'll accept that, say OK. And now I can be working, and if I just press down on the comma key, it brings up the Adobe Color Picker for me, something you could never do before. And you say, okay, it dismisses it, and you're on your way. But we can go one step further, as we've done before, and if I go to System Preferences or the Control Panel, I can go to the Wacom tablet, and if we go to Mapping for our Photoshop application, we can go right here to Color Picker and use a keystroke. And you can see I've done it right here. I've used the comma, which I assign in Photoshop, to now be used by the Wacom Express keys to call up that keyboard shortcut. So with that in place, and I just called it Color Picker, so that's what it'll say on my little LED display on the control surface, I now have the ability to go ahead and be working, and I just press on the Color Picker Express keys, and there it is. So this gives me a great way to use the Photoshop color picker. And I will note, once again, if we go into Photoshop Preferences General, you can specify whether you want this to be the Adobe color picker that we were looking at or Apple's. And on the Windows, it would be the Window color picker. So you can even use the default system color picker as well. But it's just another way to have some flexibility in how you select color. The last one I want to talk about is just calling up the eyedropper to get a single color. The way it's set in Photoshop now, when you're in the mixer brush, the Option key now calls up the icon and the ability to select multiple colors, which is great. But what if I want to select a single color quickly off of the screen? Well, I can go up and grab the eyedropper. But once again, this is a bit of an extra work. What you can do is instead assign a keyboard shortcut to this, and I'll show you what I've done in the Wacom panel once again. So we're just jumping to System Preferences or Control Panel, and if we go here to Functions, for Sample One Color, I've simply assigned the I key. Okay, and that's the normal letter that is used to bring up the eyedropper in Photoshop. So with that I key assigned, and I've just called it Sample One Color, I can now go in here, and when I hold down that key, it now changes to the dropper. And you'll see that there's a new color ring around the dropper that shows me what my current color is at the bottom half, and it updates to whatever the new color is going to be in the top half of the circle. And then that gray is just there to help isolate with a neutral color so you can see what's happening. But this gives me a quick way to be able to just quickly sample one color off of the image. So you've got multiple ways now to be able to get to color. You can pick up multiple colors. You can select a single color. You can choose a color in a color picker. All of these are just various ways. You may not end up using all of them, but the flexibility of having choices in how you select your color is a very nice addition to Photoshop CS5.